it's going to be awesome because you'll hear what others have for questions, and you'll learn even more clarity to make even more value out of the session that you just went through. So I'm really looking forward to that. Before we get into that, I would like to give you a little bit more information about what I shared with you at the end of today's session. And that is, only about once a quarter, every few months, do we actually bring in exclusive clients. We don't call our clients clients, we call them VIPs. And it's a VIP experience. It's a very important person experience. It's where myself and my elite fitness doctor and physical therapy team support you every step of the way in optimizing your body mechanics, fixing anything that you have going on that you don't want to be going on, or maybe you don't have stuff going on and you want to prevent those things and just live the highest quality of life. Regardless of where you're at in that spectrum, we can help you achieve that at a very high level with a very much a love, care, and connection approach, that's our culture. Love, care, and connection. We feel that's a really important part of what we do. And to meet with me to learn more about that, we hold a session called It's All About You, which is basically a semi-private consultation where you get to meet with me, share with me the things that you want to achieve, and any limitations that you see standing in the way. We'll have a really great consultation. You also, of course, learn about our VIP training system and how that could support you to really make a dramatic difference in your quality of life. So if you'd like to learn more about that and you'd like to connect with me, it is free, but there is an application process to meet with me. Basically, there's a few questions that you answer, and I have more individuals wanting to get into that session than I actually have time available or spots available. But I would love for you to apply to meet with me. And to do that, you would go to the bottom of your Zoom toolbar and scroll across until you get to chat, and you'd click chat, and then you would find the comment in the chat that says, this is the link to schedule a semi-private session with Robbie. We have very limited spots available, my wonderful full body fixers. Click on the blue link that you see that's in that chat. Click on the blue link, and then it'll open a box, and that'll enable you to find a time that works for you. If you don't find a time that works for you, you can message Patricia in this chat, and she can help you facilitate that. Okay, so go to the chat, click on the link, and find the time that works best for you. Answer just a few questions, and then click submit, and it'll walk you through all of that, of course. Next, I'd like to share with you, how do you participate in Q&A? The way you participate in Q&A is almost the same first step as finding how to schedule with me for a semi-private consultation. And that is, you go to your Zoom toolbar and you go across until you find a button that says reactions, which is like a smiley face with a plus sign on the head, and it actually says reactions. When you click that, a box will open. On the bottom of that box, it has an option to raise hand, and that'll raise your digital hand. And then I'll call on you in the order of which you raise your digital hand. So please feel free to connect with me. I would love to talk with you, answer all of your questions. And if you're just like, I don't want to get on Zoom and be on stage, you could also message us in the chat. You can message to Patricia, and I can answer questions that way. But my favorite, of course, is to have a great conversation with you. So with that being said, Judy, you're first up here. Looking forward to answering your questions. You're not unmuted. There we go.
No,
You're
I
unmuted.
am now. I was on the chat trying to fill in the VIP thing. I seem to have a major restriction on one side, so I understand what you're saying about balance, because now I'm having back problems and blah, blah, blah. I really find it hard to do some of these exercises. Even a little bit, it's really a struggle on the one side because I can't reach it. I can't pull it. I've had a restriction for many years, and it doesn't really affect my walk so much, but it's causing interior deterioration of different joints and that. I've got arthritis in all my joints, hands, shoulders, hips, knees, feet, hammer toes, trying to lift those little suckers off the floor. That's a real challenge too, because they're already touching the floor. So I don't know if you can help me or not. That's kind of what I'm asking, is there hope for somebody who's already gotten past that point?
I wouldn't say you're past the point at all. That's, you know, you fit one group of type of individuals that we make profound changes in their life and in their body mechanics, and we fix a lot of these things. You know, are you always going to arrive at this perfect ideal point? Well, sometimes individuals do, sometimes they don't. But one thing that always happens is you can always make massive, dramatic, life improving, quality of life improving improvements. So I would really support you and motivate you in understanding that, yes, you can absolutely make big differences, big improvements. And when you really start optimizing your tissue functionality and connecting your nervous system with those tissues, that's going to bring more metabolic function, more energy, more strength, more tissue healing and regeneration in the tissues you're working on. So it's really unlimited, the benefits of doing this kind of work. So yes, it strongly, and I can tell you, like 100% of individuals that actually follow the approaches that I'm sharing are going to make dramatic improvements in their quality of life. So, you know, arthritis is something that's really common for individuals over the age of 50. And the more aligned your body is, the less that arthritis really affects you. And the better your tissue health is, which comes from fitness and an intelligent therapeutic fitness approach, the better you feel, the easier you move, the better the life is, really. So yes, 100%. You can make huge.
These exercises, do you have to do them all the time forever now? I mean, you have to keep it up. You can't just do them and then get better. You actually have to just keep on, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes. The simple answer, I'm going to give you more, but yes, that's absolutely correct. You know, doing exercise and movement is really, it's like going to the bathroom. A lot of people think like, oh, should I exercise or not? Like, it's really, if you want to live, and especially if you want to thrive, like exercise and movement is huge, because the body is exposed to degeneration and losing functionality, and exercise, especially when done right, is the stimulus to tell your body, no, we're going to stay living, we're going to stay functional, we're going to stay moving. When your can't do list begins to grow and the can do list, you know, begins to shrink, this is where life really takes a turn for the worse. So, and it oftentimes has to do with being foundationed in biomechanics. So yeah, like there's entry levels to exercise, and then there's progression. So the magic really happens in starting in a very comfortable, easy to approach place for each individual that really feels good and you feel early results, and then slowly and methodically building up and optimizing the exercises in what we call exercise progressions, creating exercise progressions to what you're doing. So for example, for you with the tight hamstrings, you know, you can use a methodology, for example, where you would do a form of massage or rolling on your hamstrings, followed by doing the actual stretch. And you would do that like in a circuit if you really have a lot of stiffness, because now you're doing some what we call anti-adhesive work. So the tissues are kind of stuck. You're getting those from a local acute level to relax and begin to open up. And then when you combine breathing, which is really, really important, getting what's called your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest portion of your nervous system, to activate by relaxing into these exercises, especially mobility-based exercises, you're going to get more range of motion because the nervous system is going to let go. And you're also going to get more range of motion because the actual mechanical characteristics of the tissue will elongate as well. So, and then you would build up over time, getting into where you're doing like bending over exercises for your hamstrings that are more functional strength, functional mobility, instead of a more isolated sedentary version of working on those tissues. And when we approach your body in that way from toe to head and focusing on the limitations, yeah, things change in a I would say in a magical way would be the best way to explain it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to have you here, Judy. And thank you for your questions. Lots of love to you. And Pauline, hello and welcome.
Yeah. I pulled my husband in this morning, so he's
Awesome.
got a question.
Good idea.
Hey, I'm a sort of an interloper here. I just wanted to compliment you first on the thoroughness with which you do all of your teaching. Really great. And it was kind of fortunate that I sort of joined this morning because I have a question specific to one of the things you discussed, and that's with hip flexors. I was been pretty active in my younger life, like so many people, my teens, 20s, 30s, falling off in my 40s, and now in my 70s, I'm sort of like not a couch potato, but sort of like a bushel of potatoes on the couch. And I'm trying to get more active, trying to lose weight, changing my diet. But I noticed when I walk with my wife, I sometimes have a hard time keeping up because I have pain in my hip flexors. Now, it's not every day. It's just maybe every third day or so. It's not excruciating pain, but it's pain that it's unusual. And it's pain that isn't always there. It's, like I said, about every third day. So is this a problem with hamstrings not being stretched enough, or one of the other issues that I might have with positional positions with my hip in relation to my knees and my feet?
Would you mind standing up for a second and then kind of just back away from the camera, and then
Okay.
yeah, and then turn to your side. Yeah, just turn to your, there you go. Yeah. Pauline, can you bring the camera up just a little bit for a second?
I don't have much.
So like,
Oh,
you mean-
there we
up
go.
that way? Oh,
Perfect.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. You can
He's
sit
got
down.
a head tilt too. His cervical is.
Yeah. So you have more of a straight back posture, and then your butt is kind of what we would call a posterior. You're going to learn a lot about this in the next session, actually.
Okay.
But you have what's called a posterior pelvic tilt. And so it's basically your butt is tucked under, and because of the direction that your pelvis is rotating towards, it's pulling on the hip flexors. So
Okay.
because it's excessively in one direction, so it's going to pull on the other side tissues. I would think you'd sometimes feel some extra tightness in the back side of your legs as well.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yep.
Yes. Like you probably aren't currently so good at touching your toes, for example.
You might, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. And that's all just you're basically your body's showing us it has a tight posterior chain, tight hamstrings, butt tucked under, and then you got a little bit of that forward head posture. So this can make the back a little stiff sometimes too. Like if you just did more of a comfortable chin tuck, if you're having any back stiffness and such, that's going to help tremendously. But it's really about getting your hamstrings more mobile and stop pulling so much. So you got guys on one side of the fence that are pulling so strong, and these guys are getting pulled on. So until we do an actual mobility test on your hip flexors, I wouldn't be certain that your hip flexors are actually tight. They could be, and they might not be. It might just be because of what we call the antagonistic relationship, which basically just means tissues on one side of the body versus tissues on the other, who have opposite actions of pulling. And so And this happens throughout the whole body. It's like, that's the reason for shin splints, for example, is one side, the back side of the lower leg is used excessively to the weakness of the front side. And that's actually what causes tissue strain. That's sound that they call shin splints. So this happens everywhere. The upper body gets tight, and then, you know, people get knots in their back, and then they'll go to the massage therapist and get unlimited amounts of massage, and they think it goes away, but then it comes back, and they're never fixing the root of the problem, which is the excessively tight tissues on this side pulling on that side. Bringing it back to you, butt tucked under, it's going to pull. These tissues are being pulled on, elongated. So what I think happens, why you feel it like every 2-3 days, but not other days as much, is probably your positions that you're spending more time in that are on days leading up to the pain symptoms. And if you start really analyzing that and understanding what I'm teaching in the full body fix, you'll probably start to be able to self-analyze and adjust some of that. So what I would encourage you to do is do a lot of these realignment exercises on a daily basis, at least to the light degree. And you'd be amazed on how little of intensity can make in terms of a huge effect. So light exercise every day, working on the alignment. Before you go to walk, warm up. So you can just simple go around the house and do some little knee marching, and then, you know, do the mobility exercises and really get warmed up, and keep like 10 minutes of motion going, including the things I'm teaching, and then go out and walk. And if you do that, I think you're going to feel like,
in other words,
10 times
not so much
different.
a potato.
Right. Yeah. Not a sack of potatoes. Yeah. You'll start.
You know, I used to do some, you know, amateur weight training, okay, with my home system. And I always thought it's so important to do the actions when you're lifting properly. You can't just lift and not do it properly, because it won't help you. Well, you've taken this to a whole new level. I mean, things I'd never, ever considered. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Of course. It's my pleasure.
And I will.
Oh, sorry. Let me hold on. Let's get you back to unmuted.
And I will take your suggestions under advisement. I will start doing that. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Yeah, and then you guys come see me for it. It's all about you, semi-private consult, if you feel it makes sense for you.
Okay, for sure.
Awesome. Lots of love to both of you. And Karen, hello and welcome.
Hello, thank you. And I'm going to reiterate, thank you so much for the information. It's just been amazing. And I love this. I love your discussions about the neuroplasticity. And I won't go into what I do, because I still have other issues happening. But my first question is, I live alone. So what is the best way for me to evaluate my, you know, you had this tool that you were using for evaluating your, you know, your ankles and your knees. But if you're by yourself, that's hard to do. So I didn't know if you had any recommendations of how that can be done.
If done on your own, one of the best ways, like a lot of the tests that we've gone through so far, you could do on your own. The hip internal rotation, external rotation, and the dorsiflexion's a little harder, but it's possible to measure on your own. And so you would use this device is called a goniometer. So you would just use the device, put it on your knee, do exactly what I taught you in session, move the angle, and then you would see like, well, how many degrees you are, and then you'd be able to match it with the exercises that you learned today to be able to improve that. If you're a VIP, which is all these things done with you, We actually analyze you on screen digitally. We have a whole process for that. You also would get this device and we show you how to do that so you can do regular checkups and stuff on yourself. And the more keyed in you are with your biomechanics, the more you easily start to optimize without even thinking about it eventually. So that's how you would do it on your own. And then, of course, if you really want to go next level, we do all of these things with our VIPs. We measure you from toe to head to the actual degree. We do this every 3 months. And then we customize your mobility prescription. So for example, like in yoga is wonderful. I do forms. I do like my own version of yoga. It's basically someone was watching me and they'd be like, oh, that's yoga. Well, not necessarily. What I do that's really drastically different from yoga is yoga's non-biomechanically specific to the individual. And when we stretch or do mobility exercise, it should really be specific to the individual, because you could spend 80% of a yoga session, for example, stretching a tissue that's already mobile or even hypermobile, and only 20% of the time stretching a tissue that really needs the work. So the way you get past that is to really know, well, where is your tissues actually deficient? Which range of motion patterns are you deficient in? And then you use mechanical patterns that match your limitations so that you open those areas up. And then when you're doing strength training, which the most intelligent form of strength training starts with motor control learning. So you learn movement pattern and alignment as a skill. And then as you get good at that skill, then you add stimuli with weight or load. But what most people do is they add stimuli with weight and load because they think, oh, that's what I need to gain muscle. And then, oh, I have pain and issues and all this stuff when I exercise. Well, that's because you haven't really optimized the mechanics, and exercises mechanical stress on the body. It's one of the most healthy things you can do for yourself. But if you don't have the right mechanical alignment, then you're adding stimuli to dysfunction, and you will increase performance within dysfunction, which is why, even pro athletes, 66% of them get injured non-contact. And even in the NFL, 67% is non-contact. And the reason why is the same thing that a person 50 plus is dealing with in terms of arthritis and knee issues and shoulder and back, foot, hip, whatever it might be. It's just more of a chronic issue, whereas a younger athlete is going to have more ballistic motions, and they're going to tear tissues and have more severe injuries in a short period of time because the intensity is so much higher. So the approach is really optimize your mobility on a personalized level. Optimize your motor control and your skill of body alignment and positioning, so much so that it ingrains both during and outside of exercise, and then add performance slowly to this process. And then now you get stronger, more aligned in each additional stimuli, and the performance, weight, load, rep side is within function. And now strength training becomes therapeutic, which usually it is not. Usually exercise for most individuals has positive results. You don't have to be a genius. All you got to do is go out and move. It doesn't really matter. You will make positive results from exercise, and it will be good for your health. But with that, you're going to have a slew of negative results that come with it. The aches, the pains, the stiffness, or eventually that, if you don't have them now, if you don't really follow that mechanical specific approach. So that's the whole thing, is removing negative and having only positive results from exercise.
Okay, so I've got, so far we've done ankles and knees and hips, or ankles, feet, and knees and hips. And do you have a recommendation of how many like yesterday on the ankles, we were holding things, the 3 toe raises for a minute at a time. And, so I don't know if that's the normal. If you do that once a day, is it better twice a day? And the same thing with the knees. And do you go from, is it better to get the feet stable first and just focus on those and then eventually move to the knees? Or is it better to do some or all of each as you're going around? I mean, I know it's kind of a progressive thing. You got to start with the feet. I get it. But anyway.
You should do all of the things you're learning with a focus on your biggest limitations. That's the best is you should work the whole body because it's all interrelated. And even if an individual has a foot and ankle issue and they don't really have a knee and hip issue, well, having that issue for years negatively trained the knee and hip functionality, and you need to retrain that functionality to follow those patterns. So, and so foot exercises are really important, especially for those who have big deficiencies there. But if you don't do other exercise, you're never actually going to get fit from the process. And you want the strength, the energy, the overall body upregulation, right? And so different exercise will give you those kind of effects, and you should do all with focus on your biggest limitations. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one more thing, and I'll let the next person come in. I have had both of my knees replaced. And so when I'm sitting, even like doing this, getting at about this angle, I feel a pull on the inside. So a lot of the times I have to kind of lower my leg or bring this down and I was having some of the same issues when we were on the floor, some of those holding the knees and moving them out. And I'm like, I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty good at trying to adjust, but I'm not really sure where it's much worse on my left leg. I'm not really sure where that discomfort is coming from. Prior to me having that knee replaced, my knee, literally my left knee, was like this. It was really bad, and the doctor said, I don't know why you waited so long. But so I'm just going, do you have recommendations for those adjustments? Or again, I don't know where that discomfort is actually coming from.
Yeah, one of the tests that we do with VIPs is actually a knee flexion test that includes the hip flexors also. And so we'd see the deficiency in the range of motion. If you have a deficiency in those tissue ranges of motion, then like I was saying, there's a limitation. So we'd have you focusing on mobility exercises as part of a comprehensive structure. Your mobility side of things would include exercises to specifically target those tissues. And over time, they're going to increase their range of motion from the mobility. But then because of the strength you're doing, you're using larger ranges of motion with good alignment. So now your functional mobility is increasing along with the static or isolated sedentary mobility. Does that make sense? So you're building up the mobility in these exercise to then add to the strength exercise. So you have more thorough quality range of motion within your strength training. And that's really how that has to be pieced together.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of simple, and it's also super complex. Like I said, you don't have to be a genius to like get more fit, but you do kind of have to have a genius system to fix all the body issues while getting more fit. And that's why I spent like
I understand that.
Yeah. Like that, I literally did a research for 5 years with biomechanical university professors, and we tested from meta-analysis of research. We looked at over 1 million case subjects to like figure all this stuff out. And then we developed the software, and we tested hundreds of individuals in our facility before our VIP training system was born. So like there's a lot of complexity, but like for our VIPs, there's none. Is it show up, exercise, we'll test you, okay, do this, and we guide our VIPs through every so there's zero guesswork. Like we figured out for them. But yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm learning a lot in these sessions, so thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Karen. Good to chat with you. And yeah, and again, for everyone here, if you want to apply to see me in a semi-private session, we do have some spots still left. You would go into the chat and then you would click where it says, this is the link to schedule a semi-private session with Robbie. We have very limited spots available, my wonderful full body fixers. If you find that message in the chat, which Patricia just reposted, and you click the blue link, it'll give you an opportunity to then open a calendar, find the time that works for you. Then it will ask you a few questions. And I want to be really clear with everyone. There's a few questions, and it's an application process. I can't meet with everybody. We actually have way more individuals want to do this than we actually can serve. So it helps us know who to have in the meeting and that type of thing. So yeah, I would love for you to do that. If you'd like to meet with me, I'd like to meet with you. And Andrew, hello and welcome to you, sir.
Hello. Hi, Robbie. Hey, I like this. This real focus on each piece of the body is great. I found some stiffnesses that were lurking in my hips today. But I have a question, just a simple question, really. And it came up when you were doing the lunges, and I was doing that as well. I find I have trouble with my balance when I've got like one foot, like the 2 feet out, one behind and one in front, kind of in a line. There's nothing to stop me doing this. And I find that I've got much worse in that sense over the years. So have you got any thoughts on that?
Yes. The thing I would share with you is that and this might be obvious for you already, but your tissues are not used to being aligned with your feet straight, and it's causing all your hip tissues and your hamstring, your pelvis, and everything to align and hold the position. And it's used to holding the position misaligned with the feet out and the one hip doing one thing and the other hip doing another thing, and so now you're learning a new skill. It's like learning a new martial arts skill or learning to play the violin and what is the right motor control position. You're retraining your body, and that's what you want. For most of us, it should be a challenge because most of us are not aligned, and what alignment feels like isn't alignment usually. The calibration is off. So as we learn these things and begin to apply, we start to recalibrate our motor control system for understanding what alignment is. And you're going to drive stronger neurological connections over time. The best way to understand it and what really happens is it's your nerve fiber and your neurological connections and your ability to fire the nerves and the neurons to connect with the tissues that are needed for these different positions. The signal's weak, and it's not used to opening up what's called the neuron channel to connect with the tissues. So basically what happens is as you train this functionality, your signals could be like a single lane country road. And then you're going to end up developing a 2-lane road. Next thing you know, you start developing a highway, an 8-lane highway, and now you connect with these patterns really well. And your nerve fiber literally grows and changes and connects better. And your whole motor control system from the brain through the spinal cord to the peripheral structures, your neurological system has neuroplasticity or abilities to change and improve. And so you're driving those stronger neurological pathways. Then what happens is now you can do exercise in a more aligned position, which means you can more safely handle more stress, which means you can now move more freely, more easily, and you can get more power to the ground and in your motions. With the same amount of effort, you're going to have greater execution of movement, which makes you feel stronger and more capable, all because you're training these patterns. So my biggest piece of advice is like, normal to feel challenged, stay on it, and things will really improve. And that's why it'll improve.
Yeah, thanks very much for that. It's just reassuring to hear you speaking all that. So, apologies. Okay, thank you. That was great. And I look forward to seeing you next time.
Absolutely. Andrew, lots of love to you, my friend. It's my pleasure. And Maggie, hello, and welcome to you.
Hi. It's a pleasure to be here. I've really enjoyed the two sessions so far. And, like I knew that I had problems before this, but boy, do I have problems. Um, you know what? I can't start my video. If I
Okay.
start my video, my connection's poor. It'll
Okay.
just crash.
It's okay.
I might even go robotic trying to do audio. But okay, so I'm trying to think. In 2008, I had a farming accident on a four-wheeler. I had a tibial plateau fracture on my left leg, uh, a fibula fracture, and I just annihilated my shoulder. I mean, there was so much wrong with it; it's ridiculous. And really, really poor medical care told me I had no fractures. So they tried to make me walk on my leg, which only made a great big huge indent in this shattered tibial plateau of mine. And I don't know, one thing led to another. I was in a wheelchair for like 18 weeks until the fracture healed. And then the shoulder got repaired, and it was a total blowout of the rotator cuff, and nobody even knew this at the time. But during the surgery, they found out that my clavicle had dislocated anteriorly, and that he had to saw off my clavicle to get it out of my rotator cuff. So it was a giant surgery, but it healed fine. I've got great shoulder motion, for what I've been through. But the knee never did heal. It kept dropping me on the ground. And right about the time that Obamacare was scheduled to take effect, I was presented with the option of a total knee replacement. And to say that if I could change anything and go back in anything in my life, it would be the decision to have that. Because have you ever heard of complex regional pain syndrome or regional sympathetic dystrophy? They caused
Yes.
that. And
Yes.
it was just, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how outrageous that experience was. I'm one of the millions of people that they addicted to Oxycontin over all that. I mean, it's insane. But anyway, so that I have no movement whatsoever in my left knee. I mean, maybe a degree or two, but that's it. It's just frozen. So I can't do things I want to do, like lunges and squats and all that. But then fast forward, I don't know, maybe another decade, and I fell and fractured my pelvis. And I spent 21 days begging for like in-home physical therapy or something, because I knew the worst thing in the world to do was bed rest. But like poor medical care, story of my life, I didn't get it, and so I was diagnosed with a psoas contracture, but it turns out I think I have more wrong with my flexors than I do my psoas, because if you need a physical picture of what someone looks like when their hips have rotated forward and they can't stand up straight, I volunteer, because that is exactly what I look like. I'm bent over when I walk. I'm lucky that it doesn't cause a lot of pain, I guess. But, I just attempted to do a lot of those exercises, and I wasn't real successful. So that's my story. Well, no, there actually is a little bit more. Remember when you said about causing friction and that I actually, because of the contracture or whatever it was, I wore out a portion of my left hip that nobody ever wears out, or so they told me at the Cleveland Clinic. And I had to have my hip replaced because of that. And it was, as far as I'm concerned, it was done old fashioned, which I didn't know about that. And he told me he'd fix my knee, which lit up my universe. And without really telling me how he was going to do it or what. And I did not know that when they do a posterior hip replacement, they have to dislocate your your hip in order to get it out. And the only way they can do that is to bend your knee. Well, my knee doesn't bend. So I have absolutely no idea how he actually got my hip dislocated, because there's still no, and I know he attempted to manipulate the knee under anesthesia, but it didn't work. I could have told him that, but he didn't ask. So that's another thing that I've had go on, is I've had a total hip. So that's my story.
Did you have a question with all of this, Maggie?
Well, I guess I want to know if, and I guess I do believe this is recoverable from. I wouldn't be wasting my time or yours if I didn't think it was, but I don't know. I've tried as much as I can hip flexor exercises to loosen them up, or what, but that's what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, regardless of your condition, there's always room for improvement, right? There's always room for improvement. There's always tissue functionality that you can create. It's about having the right comprehensive plan, addressing the restrictions that you have in the most appropriate way for where you're at the time, and staying very consistent on a protocol that starts to create more and more functionality, to finding what is your pinnacle of improvement. But one thing that's for sure is you can absolutely make improvements, and significant improvements. So I would share that with you, that you can absolutely make improvements. It's going to require a lot of personalization, which is fine. Like in our VIP training system, it's not something I'm going to solve in Q&A with you here, of course, but like in our VIP training system, we have an option where we've helped individuals get up out of wheelchairs and walk again, individuals with strokes, individuals with all kinds of more MS, more extreme scenarios. And then we have VIPs all the way to the super fit side that don't really have any issues, and they don't want to ever have any issues. So it's across the whole spectrum. But yeah, like that is something, if you're asking me, we could absolutely help you improve significantly, and it is something we've done many times.
Well, I guess I believe that, because I guess progress for me would be not looking like I'm a direct descendant of Cro-Magnon man. But I did fill out the VIP appointment after the first session, and unfortunately, I had to mark down. I don't have finances to readily support this, because we're dealing with cancer in our lives, and we owe the Cleveland Clinic a whole bunch of money. And it's like, only in America can you go bankrupt trying to stay healthy or get healthy or whatever. So that's more of my story, I guess.
I would advise you to utilize everything I'm teaching you in the full body fix. I would advise you to do all that you can. And I'd also advise you to connect with Patricia. She may have some options for you where we could customize some solution to give you further support and help. So I would suggest, as a next step, connect with Patricia and start that conversation. Lots of love to you, Maggie. I appreciate the conversation that we had. And Terry, hello and welcome to you.
Am I unmuted now?
You are. Hello.
I put this question in the chat, but it said it's only for if the session with you. However, you have referred to a worksheet or a reference sheet or something to the after each set. Where do you find it? Because I haven't seen it.
At the end of every session day. So like, for example, like Saturday by like 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, you would have received that in your email. Today, same thing. At the end of each session day, you'll receive the session replay and also the exercise checklist from that session day.
Okay.
And then sometimes this can go into the spam or junk folder. So you might want to like look in all of your email folders. That's
Okay.
usually the hurdle for most people. Occasionally they may use one email, but they registered for the Full Body Fix with another email. That's another reason. So between those two, if you haven't received the session information, it's either because it's not in your inbox, look in other folders, or let's double check that we have the right email in the system.
Okay, I'll go back and check.
Okay.
Like I say, I haven't seen it, but I'll be on when the next one is anyway. If I have it, I'll let you know.
Awesome.
You.
Yeah. And then you can always message Patricia for additional support, and she can make sure that you get those things as well. And of course, I'm sure everyone has Patricia's email, but patricia@thefitnessdoctor.com. And that's all spelled out, The Fitness Doctor. And next up, hello. Welcome to you, Charles.
Yes, I need your help. I would like to have someone. I understand your program VIP, so I want to register for that. I have pain when I am walking. I know my condition is long range because I've been trying so hard to keep my balance, and I'm doing things that is going against my common sense when I should be taking it easy, resting or whatever, but I'm trying to walk to keep my balance. I understand your VIP program is expanding. I didn't know, but when I first started listening to you, it was one thing, but the Q&A sessions afterwards, I learned so much that people are undergoing what I'm undergoing. So I would like to at least start the program, but my time is limited right now. I have obligations that I'm going through. This week, I'm going to Florida, so I have to be in the airport, going through whatever, and taking my baggage is hard because of my balance, because of my lumbar section. I've been down to ease the pain. I do have pain. So what I'm asking you is the program. Could I look at it, reload, look at it again? Because I would like to do things correctly to correct my position. And I don't want to be wasting your time, your staff's time, in order to fix my body. That's what I'm getting at. I'm in a bad condition, but I'm not in a worse condition. I'm heading to a worse condition. So it's going to be a long time. I'm 75 years of age, And I'm trying to do my best, but like I say, this week I'm going through the airport and I'm just imagining what I have to go through. And I've been through it before. It was okay, but now it's not okay. So when I saw your program air, I said, I got to get into it. I got to do something about this condition of mine. And I understand that it takes a while. Well, with me, I think it's going to be a long while. So that's why I wanted to voice it at the beginning to let you know that I hurt, but I'm dealing with it, and I want to do better. So at the end of this week, up until the 15th, I have no more air travel planned.
So,
And
so what I would advise
I
you to
want,
do, Charles,
yeah,
if
go ahead.
what I would advise you to do is message Patricia, because she can help you with specifics for all of those things. If there's some
Okay.
time where you want to start working with us, but you need to adjust, just message Patricia. We can facilitate that easily. So yeah, she would be the best person to message, and I'll have her drop
Thank
her.
you.
I'm sure everyone has her email. She's the main point of contact during the Full Body Fix. But I will have her put her email in the chat here, so you'll have that as well. So Patricia, if you can
Thank you very much.
of course, yes, sir. You're very welcome. And yeah, and I have high hopes for you. And like I've shared with everybody, I've never met a person that there's not significant improvements we can make. So never. So yeah, perfection is I would say is indescribable, right? There's things we can do to with body mechanics to optimize, but the perfection is kind of like the horizon. So, but improvement and increased quality of life, increased functionality, being able to do the things that you really enjoy doing and having the most fulfilling life, that I think everybody has capability to do and to improve. And we have people who don't have issues who become VIPs, and many of them, and then we keep that from ever happening. So, that's our system, is across the board. As long as you're age 50 or over, we can help you create optimization to your body mechanics, and therefore then your physiology, including strength, mobility, functionality, motor control, upregulation of your mindset, and how you connect with your body. And also connect you with a lot of other very inspiring people. Our VIP family is truly amazing. Like our one thing is what we do, and another is the amazing people that we really vet who we have in our VIP family, and the people are they're just amazing. Like I end up learning from them in terms of the mindset it's truly amazing, and the love, the care, and the connection that comes from our community is a life optimizing, and from people all over the world too. So it's something really special that we've created. So I would encourage you to connect with Patricia, and she can help you further with that. Lots of love to you, my friend.
Thank you.
And Patricia, would you like to share anything with us?
Hello, Full Body Fixers. I am so happy to have all of you with us today. And let's talk about the emails with the replay and the checklist. All of you are receiving the emails from replay and checklist. And it's the same email that has both links, the replay and also the checklist. And every time that, oh, look at that. That was cool. And every time that we have a session, so for now, session 2, you are going to receive session 2 replay at around 6 p.m. EST. That's when you're going to be receiving. And we're going to send the checklist there again. So every time after the session, after the day's over, we are going to send the checklist and the replay. If you're not receiving that, very likely our messages are going to your junk folder. So if you search in your inbox by my email, I will type in the chat. Robbie, can you type my email in the chat, please?
Yeah.
If you type my email, you will be able to see the messages if it went to your spam folder. If you still do not find, just message me and I will be happy to resend. Okay. And if you do find in your junk folder, just reply to the email with a simple hi or done or smiley face. Doesn't matter, because this way your Gmail or Yahoo or whatever your provider is going to recognize our emails as not spam, and it will start landing on your inbox, and you're not going to be in a wild goose chase anymore. Okay. And the second thing is, this is session 2 of 5. We still have 3 more to go. If you arrived here later and you got to the session and we were in Q&A, you missed the session. So 2 options. You can join us again today at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to replay the session and you will have an opportunity of rewatching, or you can wait for the replay to go to your inbox today. So session 3 is on Wednesday. It's going to be lower back, upper back, pelvis. Session 4 is about neck and shoulders, and session 5 is our best session of all, is the breakthrough session, and we all look forward to seeing you back with us. Much love to you.
Lots of love to each of you. See you again soon in your next session.